Stephanie, have a chance to get as much in as possible before all of their technology malfunctions, I think we'll give it a go. We'll start off. Does that sound good, ladies?
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, well, I am really excited to welcome you all today, and to everyone who's joined us. My name is Stephanie Howland, and I manage United Way Caregivers Coalition for Morris and Somerset counties, and also the Assistive Technology for Caregiving Families Program. And I truly want to acknowledge what an honor it is to have been asked to present with my team. And a huge thanks to Mike and Naomi for having us present and thinking to put this together. And I know that there are so many incredible speakers on here who have a lot of background and knowledge in technology. And as someone who has none of that and is just really, really excited to show you how technology can help you, especially from the point of view of someone who has nothing in the background, it's very humbling to be included. So you might be thinking, why then is this lady here talking at a summit about assistive technology? So hopefully by the end of this presentation, I will prove myself and our team will prove ourselves as to why we are here. And before we get into the technology piece of it, I think it's important to give a little bit of history about a Caregivers Coalition and our work and why this sort of makes sense in that realm. So just quickly, I want to make sure we're on the same page. And what do I mean by a caregiver? This is who we support, because it's anyone who's caring for a loved one that's not hired to do so. So it could be a spouse caring for their partner with dementia. It could be a mother caring for their child with autism. And it could be a sibling caring for a sibling with bipolar disorder. And it could be any combination of these and certainly more. As you know, you have to be suddenly an expert in everything all at once. So these are who we are supporting through United Way Caregivers Coalition. And I think it's important to give a picture of why it's so important for us to support family caregivers. I think the one statistic here that I like to highlight is that 81% of caregivers don't know they're caregivers. So it's really hard to support and offer services to an individual who doesn't identify themselves as those who could benefit from said supports. So a big part of our work is really raising awareness around what a caregiver is and helping people identify themselves as caregivers. And our healthcare system would collapse without them, without you. We need to support them. It's in every way we can, because truly we wouldn't be able to go forward without them. So in 2005, this was when United Way was United Way of Morris County and worked to identify services and supports that were missing in the community. And the biggest one was for caregivers. It's an incredible gap. It had been, it's getting a little better. We have a long way to go. So the Caregiver Coalition was formed. And we have now 16 years under our belt. In 2010, United Way of Morris County merged with a few others and became United Way of Northern New Jersey. And this was the first program that was expanded into all the local areas represented under that umbrella. This is our mission, and this has stayed the same since day one. It's extended into all of the coalitions, and all of them follow the same model. Our guiding principles. We are an across the lifespan coalition. We believe that services should be based on need, not on age or disability or condition. Caregivers must be at the table. They need to tell us what they need and not the other way around. Our caregivers are the heart of our coalition. Our members are made up of government representatives, for-profit services, not-for-profit, attorneys, financial advisors, businesses, corporations, faith-based organizations, and of course, caregivers. Pretty much anyone you can think of in the community that has any interest in caregiving. And if you think about that, that should be everyone. I would also highlight that everything we do, every program we take on, including the one we'll talk about soon, is based on what caregivers tell us they need and what is filling that gap. So pre-COVID, or PC as we call it, we used to have all different programs, initiatives, and they happened in person, if you can believe that, and remember those times when we weren't just little squares in a box. We would have extended educational presentations called Munch and Learns. We would have monthly local coalition meetings with educational presentations. We had things called the Caregiver Cafe, which offered respite and support for family caregivers. We also developed the Pathways for Caregivers Guide, which is a tool developed by subject matter experts and caregivers that's been used by professionals and of course family caregivers, and it's been sent as far as Hawaii. And we have a lot of different resource options, which certainly I would encourage you all to either reach out to us after or check out our website, because I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk about the Assistive Technology Program. But I think what I really wanted to highlight during pandemic time, or DP, we all had to pivot, as I'm sure you did as well. We have to become very flexible, but also make sure that we were meeting the needs of our caregivers and our community members. And so we went fully virtual, and we continued the educational piece, our meetings, and all of the resources that we could through this kind of platform. And we really upped our communication game through monthly missives and making sure that caregivers were aware of all the new programs and services and supports that were being developed during this time. And so one of the most impressive, if I do say so myself, and exciting programs that came from all of this was the Assistive Technology for Caregiving Families Program. And this started even before the pandemic. I mean, kind of right before the pandemic. So we were just getting going when we were told we had to kind of change all the ways we were doing things. But we knew how important this was. So just a little background on how this came to be. It really was started after a few series of events, but one specifically was a coalition meeting where a true expert in assistive technology was presenting on all the ways that this technology could benefit vulnerable populations. And he was talking about how much of the technology only a few years prior was either too expensive or too difficult to figure out for the average person, but now is pretty much built into devices we use on a daily basis, or really inexpensive and certainly more user-friendly and affordable for the families beforehand that would not have been able to use it. I was really blown away by what he was talking about and thought, why don't we know more about this? Our caregivers could really benefit from this information, from these devices. Ooh, that was a big thunder clap. Well, I'm going to get through this before it all goes away. And we also know that it doesn't matter if it seems easy to people. Caregivers are already overwhelmed. They have enough going on in their lives. They can barely get to their own doctor's appointments and sometimes aren't even lucky enough to make a shower a day. So they don't have time to futz around with devices, even if they're simple. I kind of thought, what if we approached this like a caregiving program, but with a technology component? And really, this is how this all started. And the technology, while it's obviously important, isn't the most important piece. It's just a part of it. The most important piece in my mind is who is below me in these squares. And there are AT specialists. And that's who I'm going to hand it over to right now to speak a little bit more about the devices we use and how this all works, and hopefully, making caregivers' lives just a little bit easier. So I say, I'm going to boop. You let me know when to advance.
You can advance. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Cohen, and I'm one of the AT specialists for the Assistive Technology Program. Just to give you a little background about myself, I've been with United Way for almost 4 years now. I wear a few different hats at United Way, but one of the most fulfilling jobs that I do have is being an AT specialist with this program. What I really love about it is that I feel really strongly that our program can give caregivers a real sense of accomplishment and peace of mind. And it's really just by using simple technology. And the beauty of it is that we don't pretend to know everything. And we really kind of learn along with our caregivers, and we give them a sense that they're partners with us. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the benefits of the Assistive Technology Program. Our devices, as Stephanie explained, are mostly simple technology, probably technology that you may even have in your home already. But we have found that while the technology is super helpful for caregivers, it also is very, gives a lot of freedom and a lot of benefits for our care recipients, their loved ones. So while it streamlines caregivers' tasks and gives them perhaps a comfort returning to work if they have been out of work, or they have less time away from work. So one of the things that we have found through providing this technology is that caregivers are reporting that they have less time making phone calls home, leaving work to go home and check on their caregivers. The technology has given them the ability to just open up their smartphones, look at an app, and check in on their caregivers, which is an incredible thing for just us as just a typical person, but as a caregiver, you can imagine what a piece of, a sense of security it gives you to be able to open your phone and see that your loved one is fine. And in turn, this reduces their stress. They have increased feelings of security. It fosters independence for the care recipient, as I said, reduces isolation for the care recipient, and all in all, it provides social interaction and engagement for the whole family. Next step.
Okay, I will introduce myself now. My name is Stephanie Samuel. I am the other AT specialist here on the Assistive Technology Project. I'm at United Way. Similar to Susan, I also wear other hats. I'm at the organization. I've been with United Way for about 6 years, and I've held many different positions. This one is my favorite. Don't tell anyone else that I work with, but I'm a social worker by background, so this project means so much to me, and my background is actually in the field of disabilities, so this just really brings things home for me, and I'm really fulfilled by the position, and I love meeting new families, new caregivers, and learning new things about technology, because as Susan shared, her and I came at this with no background in technology. So we learned really from the very beginning. We watched YouTube videos, we Googled things, we tested equipment out in our own homes. So I feel like we really can relate to the caregivers who are new at this as well, because we were really new at the beginning also. You could switch slides, Steph. But before I really get into this part, I just want to tee us up a little bit more in case we all lose power, just to give you a sense of how the program works and who's eligible for it before I even get into the pieces of technology. So this project is grant funded. We have funding in Morris County and in Warren County. So if you are a caregiver or care recipient or know of one in either of those two counties, you are eligible for the project. The caregiver or care recipient need to have a Wi-Fi in their home and a smartphone. But we would get into all of that kind of during our initial assessment. So it's free technology, which is amazing. And we have a large budget for each family. And we would assess the needs of the family to determine what technology would be best for them in their situation. And we follow the family for a full year. So every 3 months, we do an assessment with the family to see how things are working. We replace items, we exchange items, we try new items, because we're really there to really create a tailored experience for the family. And so we've tried all new things through the years. We have our devices that we always use, which we'll get into in a minute, but we also have tried brand new things recently with new families who have asked us about equipment. So at the end of the presentation today, we'll put in the chat how you can get in touch with Susan or myself if you're interested. Again, it's free. Morris County or Warren County, Wi-Fi and a smartphone are the two requirements, and also living in those two counties. So I'll get into quickly now the challenges of technology. Obviously, we know it can be overwhelming and intimidating. I know when I first started, we had all these boxes that we were given and we had to open them up and figure them all out. And I certainly was overwhelmed and intimidated, but as I started learning and practicing, it got much easier. Resistance from a loved one, we have found, and we still find, that sometimes the care recipient does not want an indoor camera in the home, or does not want an Alexa device in the home because they think that they're being listened to. So, there's a whole host of reasons why some families are not comfortable with technology, and that is perfectly fine. Sometimes families do come around, the care recipient changes her mind or his mind. So I'm just putting that out there because it is something to be wary of. Time investment, it's really, all the technology that we use is very simple, and it can have high functionality if you spend time, or you just learn the very basics of it and you can get by, just like your smartphone. You can just text and talk and that's it, or you can download apps and play games and use social media. So it's really about the user and how much time and learning they want to put into the device. Equipment glitches, we have no control over those. These devices are only as good as they are. So we've heard wacky stories about, an Alexa was playing music at, I think, 1 a.m. in someone's living room when she didn't ask Alexa to play music. So sometimes wacky things happen, or, a camera malfunctions, or we need to replace the camera, but this is just normal for technology. Wi-Fi, internet, I might have a blackout in 5 minutes and that will wipe out my Wi-Fi and internet. So at times, all the equipment we use does rely on internet and Wi-Fi. So that is frustrating. We do work with families in Warren County where internet isn't as strong. So we have found some devices don't work as well as others. But again, we found ways to get around some of these things. Needing a smartphone, I mentioned earlier, all the devices we use rely on an app that needs a smartphone. So that is definitely a barrier for some families. So, we've talked about other ways to access a smartphone if they don't have one. Cost, this program is free, which is wonderful, but if you're looking to buy equipment, everything we use, I would say is under $100 or a little over $100. Of course, there are more expensive things out there, but you would just have to decide what's best for you. And hidden subscription fees, this is really, like, for example, I keep mentioning Alexa, which we'll get into, but if you are using Alexa and you're asking, her to play a certain song. It's not part of the free package. There's times she'll say that you need to pay X amount of money per month to access, this song. And that's up to the user again. Everything is free to use. If you want to upgrade, that's when there's a fee for the most part. So you can switch slides, Steph. If there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I think I'm doing this right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mentioned Alexa a lot, so this is a great segue. So here we have a product that we use all the time. I think all of our families ask for one or have one. You see the Alexa Dot and the show. The show has a screen. They work almost the same way, except for the screen obviously allows you to do some video calls and look at the news and the weather. You can play games on it and see the lyrics to a song. So it just has kind of like some higher capabilities on it, which is nice. However, the Dot is also great. And our families love it for making and receiving phone calls, setting reminders, like to take medication and setting routines. You can literally have a routine set for the entire day for your care recipient. So literally from the moment they wake up to when they go to sleep, take your medicine, exercise, use your inhaler, eat your lunch, entertainment, music, books, games, jokes. It's a lot of fun, and families are really finding that they're bonding over these products. And so they're having dance parties and enjoying themselves. They're doing books on tape. They have a Kindle account, so the Alexa is reading them books. So it really becomes a great device for caregiving, but also for fun. And I think these families need that sometimes. And the care recipients are enjoying it too. When they're home alone, sometimes they're having the Alexa play music as well. There's also a smoke alarm and a carbon dioxide, is it? Carbon monoxide, right? Sorry. So it's great for that too, just for like that safety feature. So we really love these devices. I have two in my house. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And just to elaborate a little bit on what Stephanie said, we did have one caregiver, care recipient relationship where the son cares for his mom, and virtually from the moment that she woke up until she went to sleep, he would set a full routine for her. And she would ask about Alexa. Is Alexa married? And it was just the cutest, most heartwarming story for us, because he really took full advantage of what Alexa had to offer. And she really listened to Alexa. So it was a win-win for both of the care recipient and the caregiver. So I'm going to talk a little bit about probably our favorite product, which is the Wise camera. And I actually have one at my desk, and you can see the picture there. You can see how incredibly small they are, and the range of what can be seen through these cameras is remarkable. So what we typically do is if a family expresses, and just to give you a little background, what we typically do in our first phone call, once we determine that a family is eligible for our program, they would fill out an assessment form to kind of give us an idea of what their biggest concerns are. But then Stephanie and I jump on a call with them, a Zoom call typically, which used to be done in their home, but of course now we can't do that. Just so that we can really get a sense for what are their biggest concerns, and really get a sense for who they are and get to know them a little better. And during that conversation, we get to really get an awareness of what are their biggest concerns. And through that, a lot of times, Stephanie and I think our wheels start turning. And when they say something about, I'm really concerned when I leave to go to the supermarket, and I don't know when I call the home and they don't answer, I don't know what to do. We instantly think, well, a camera would be perfect, right? So the beauty of these is that there's just like the Alexa products, there is a separate app for the Wise cameras. There are indoor cameras, there are outdoor cameras. The outdoor Wise cameras are remarkable. You can stick them on a tree and any surface, a porch. Just open the app and you can see what's going on with your loved one. It also has a microphone, so which is not like the best feature on the product, but it is a great feature if you just want to press and say, Mom, please get away from the stove. We've talked about you not being near the stove, or Mom, the stove is on. Can you please turn it off? It's an incredible sense of security and safety to be able to check in on your loved one with the cameras. It has night vision, so you can see when it's dark, and it's really quite a remarkable product.
And also just in terms of the ring as well. So if you have the ring and you have another person that is helping you kind of do caregiving, you can share the app with a family member. So if you and your sister are providing care for your mom, for example, you have access to the camera, and then you can share that access with your sister or your brother or whomever. So that's actually a really nice feature too.
Yeah,
and again,
the only person that would be able to have access is the person or people that you want to share that access with. Often that is a question that people ask. Can anybody just look in? Are you able to look in? And absolutely not. The only person that could look in on their loved one is the person who has synced their phone to this device, or whoever they have shared that privilege with.
Yeah, and they're really inexpensive. They only cost about $25. And so for kind of the way they work and how the range is, like Susan described, it's really amazing. So like I said, these are just products that we found to work, but if a family said, I don't like Wise, I want to try this brand, we're open to that too. We're not married to these brands. So here we have the Ring doorbell, which I'm sure many of you have or have seen before, so I won't spend too much time on it, but it's so great for people. So we've used it a lot for people who care for someone who wanders. So they're great because you are alerted when the door opens and closes and when there's activity outside the door. So that's really great for any family member who's caring for someone who wanders. Also great for someone if a person is ringing the doorbell and you have some mobility issues and you can't get to the door in time, you can talk into the phone and just say, I'll be right there, or please leave the pizza on the porch, or whatever. So that's a nice feature too. And a byproduct and a great feature of this whole thing is it's a great security device, because when you have a Ring doorbell, chances are, hopefully no one will pull anything outside of your front door. So at least, it's like a nice security feature for people who are worried about where their care recipients are living. So we love these. I love mine. It's just so helpful for you. You're able to see who's coming and leaving your home and who's at your front door. So you can.
Yeah, and I think also for some of our families who live in Warren County, it's more rural. It's, they're concerned because they might live much further from their loved one. And this really does provide a wonderful sense of security. I'm going to talk now about the Smart Plug. Another product that I love. It really is such a simple product. The plug itself, the Smart Plug, plugs into an outlet, and then any device that you can plug into the plug would then go into the Smart Plug. We use these products as well as smart bulbs, which would screw right into the where you would screw your light bulb, and they provide basically the same functions. You can use them by speaking directly to them. So if I want my light to go on and off, I would just say, Alexa, turn living room light on or turn off, and which is a beautiful function, especially for people who have trouble using small devices on their lamps to turn on and off, or maybe they're in their bed in the evening, they have to get up to use the bathroom, it's dark in their room, and they need the light. And so they could just say, bedroom lamp turn on, then they have the light, they get back into their bed, they can say turn the light off, which I think is a beautiful feature. It also can be programmed to turn on and off at certain times, which does provide some sense of a security measure for your home. If you're not home, we did have one family who traveled for a good part of the winter back to to where they were from an island, and they were very concerned with their home, and we would help them set the timers as a security measure. And I think a beautiful thing about this is that, you know, a lot of people who we're finding now that have like who have vision issues, need a lot of light in their homes, and by having all the plugs in different areas in their home, they can control the light in their home and have it brighter for them. Next step.
I think we're just gonna share some testimony at this point. We have a few great stories we wanted to share with you of some of the families we've worked with and some great successes that have happened from this program. So I think Susan's going to start.
Okay. This is always like our favorite part of the presentation, and we always have like a really hard time picking the families that we want to speak about. But the first family that I would like to talk about is a couple. One of the first, I think the very first family that we actually visited, Steph, and so lovely. And the caregiver worked outside the home, still does. And her job is very demanding. She sometimes would have hours that she worked overnight. She worked at Newark Airport, and her care recipient, her husband, had a lot of medical issues. I won't go into what they were, doesn't really matter. But she was extremely worried and concerned about him. Every time she would leave for work, she was very concerned about him. If she would call him and he didn't answer, she would get so freaked out. She would feel like she would have to leave work and come home and see what was going on with him. Sometimes he was just asleep, right? Like it's late, she works overnight, but she didn't know that. So once we came into the home and evaluated what was going on, we put cameras in the bedroom, in the living room, in the kitchen, and she was able to just pick up her phone, see that he was sleeping, see that he was watching TV, and all was good. And not only did she recognize the stress level, the sense that it was so much lower for her, but even her coworkers commented on what a different person she was. And, you know, what's going on? You seem so different. And she was able to say, you know, I feel so much more comfortable because I can just check in on my husband, and it was just a real sense of security. We also gave them an Alexa, and they were so amazing. They were able to hook it up to all kinds of devices and read books from it. And they were just really had the sense of being able to use the devices to the fullest capacity.
Yeah. And I'll just share a story about a caregiver that we worked with, I think it was last year, and she cared for her husband, who was actually homebound and fairly bedbound, unfortunately. And he had a cath bag and some other things kind of going on. And she was working out of the home a few days a week. And she also had cameras that we installed for her, along with some other products. And she actually looked in on him and noticed that there was some blood that was kind of in the cath bag, which was an emergency. And she was at work. She was able to see this from her smartphone and call for help. And he got to the hospital. So, I mean, that is just amazing. And she was so thankful for these cameras and, you know, kind of for the help that we were able to give her, because if she didn't see that at that time, who knows what would have happened. So we're really grateful that that happened for her, and she was so grateful for the program.
So another piece of why I love this program so much and why I'm so devoted to it is because I actually have a son with special needs. And so I know how challenging it can be to separate yourself from your child and give them a sense of responsibility and accomplishments, and how challenging it is, right? I work a full-time job and I'm caring for another person. And so I really have empathy for families that are going through this. And the next families that I'd like to share with you both have children with special needs. They are tweens, which we all know is an extremely challenging age. And And the stories that they provided for us in terms of one family set up a routine for her daughter. And what she was finding was that she was constantly nagging at her. Did you brush your teeth? Did you do this before? Did you put your shoes on? Come on, you have to get ready. And what she found was that she was able to set a routine with Alexa, and her daughter really listened to Alexa without any issues whatsoever. And it was remarkable for the family because the mom was able to really give her daughter, a sense of accomplishment. And she was also able to lessen a little bit of her burden. And the other mom, we has found that she has, they found this like new sense of appreciation for music. They spend a lot of time. Her daughter can't even go to the bathroom on her own. And she spends a lot of time with her daughter in the bathroom. And she's like, a lot of times I'm just standing there and it's kind of boring. So I brought the Alexa into the bathroom, and now we have spontaneous dance parties. And my husband comes home and we're in the bathroom together and we're enjoying Cyndi Lauper. Girls just want to have fun. And, my daughter takes a shower and she wants to hear the music. And it really brings a lot of joy into their home. And that family also, just one quick side note, was having, excuse me, I'm sorry. Her daughter in the evening, she would hear a lot of noise from her daughter's room, and it was very disruptive to her sleep. So she would have to continually get up in the middle of the night, check in on her daughter, and maybe she was just rolling over, or maybe she didn't know what was going on, but it was extremely disruptive. So we decided that, and it was the first time that we suggested this with using a baby monitor, which seems so simple and elementary, but for this family, she put a baby monitor in her daughter's room. And what she discovered was that her daughter, she was noticing that her daughter was having really unusual movements in her bed. And she shared the videos with her doctor, and they realized that she was having seizures. And so they were able to adjust her medication. And what an incredible story. I don't think in order for her to get the proper sleep, one, and then secondly, to figure out what's going on with her daughter.
And just the last story we'll share is about a family, and it's a mom, and she cares for her husband with early onset Parkinson's and her son with multiple disabilities. And the mom actually was working 3 jobs, and her husband became disabled, and her son also has a few conditions as well. And she was leaving, her son was doing home learning last year, and her husband was home as well. And she was out sometimes for over 12 hours, and she was concerned. Her husband was very shaky. He fell a lot, but yet he wanted to be independent because he had been independent for such a long time. So, they were really struggling with that because he wanted to be himself, but yet he couldn't be himself. And so she would, like I said, leave for a long time. So we installed the works at her house. I think she has one of everything or 2 of everything. Outdoor cameras, indoor cameras, Alexa. He couldn't even dial the phone anymore because his hands were so shaky. So she was having trouble reaching him via phone until we were able to step in and help out. So for her, the peace of mind that she has leaving the house with her husband and son both at home is remarkable. And she's one of our biggest success stories, and she's on our website, and she's just such a dear, amazing person. But it really saved her a lot of stress. So it was an amazing experience for us. And as you're hearing us say, we went into their homes. Clearly, we don't go into homes anymore. We do everything virtually. We drop off equipment virtually, not virtually. We drop off equipment on your doorstep. I'm sorry. And we are able to support the family through setup. So through Zoom calls and through phone calls, through FaceTime calls, we help a family get everything installed. And then we are following the family for 1 year. So that is all we have for you today. And we'd love to take some questions or comments. I see there's some things in the chat I haven't checked.
And just so, I don't know if this is a question, but at the end of the program time, which is a full year, the families do get to keep the technology.
Yeah, that's a common question. Thanks for addressing that, Susan. And again, I think these testimonials really hit home everything that we're talking about, and it's hard to fully get a good picture of everything until you hear these. And so now it's been going on long enough where we have some really unique testimonials to share. And I think that perfectly describes how the technology is a part of it, but what Stephanie and Susan do, getting to learn about the families and work and understand their needs. I mean, it really could be a simple thing like a baby monitor, and the rest of the devices are useful as well. But every family's needs are so unique, and figuring out what works best is a skill. And I would just say that if, after this is done, if anyone has any questions about the program, certainly you can reach out to me. If you have any families that you think might be interested in participating or appropriate, please reach out to Stephanie and Susan. And you can always reach out for, questions you might have about the coalition or this program specifically beyond today. I don't see any in the chat. I don't know if anyone wants to maybe, we have about 4 minutes. If anyone wants to unmute and ask a question, that's fine as well. I think you can do that. And we'll just kind of hang out here for a bit. If not, you must have answered all of the questions, ladies. Oh, wait, no, I spoke too. Oh, thank you, Justin. We do want to be mindful of time as the skies have opened up down here. I'm not sure where all of you are. Hopefully you're not managing this crazy weather right now, but if you are, everyone be safe. Thank you, Barbara. Sounds like Alexa could be a lot of people's friends.
Madam A.
Yeah, right. You got to be careful when you say it because it sets off things.
All right, I'm going to jump on another call.
Thanks, Susan.
Okay. Thanks
Take
so
care.
much. Thank you, everybody.
And I'll stick around. I'm going to stick around for the last 2 minutes. Get your money's worth. Steph, have you had any other connectivity scares or light links?
No, not since right before we got on.
I know.
Of course, perfect timing.
I know. Although you got on quickly.
Yeah, I know. Thank God. Right, I'm gonna hop too, but it was nice meeting or, chatting with all of you.
Yes,
Bye,
thanks.
Steph.
Bye. And I will leave this screen up for about another minute. So you can take any information you might need. All right. Thank you, everybody who's left. Have a wonderful rest of your day and conference tomorrow.